Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's been a long 2 weeks since you've last seen me, but in real life I haven't actually filmed a video in a month now because of life, COVID. I didn't have COVID, just COVID anxiety in general. What's it called? Pandemic fatigue. Just having no motivation, no will to do anything that I enjoy. Did I already say life? Just out, and also work, stress overload. So I've just kind of been chilling and just focusing on making myself happy before forcing myself to actually do things that I don't have, like, I don't know, like my heart isn't in. But I am feeling quite good now. I've been good actually for the past 5-ish days. But like obviously the first day feeling good, I didn't want to say right back to work, even though that's what my brain was telling me to do. I was like, no, I'm gonna relish actually being okay for a while. So I am filming today. I'm excited. Yeah, and I feel productive, which is really nice, and I haven't actually like spent time on my appearance in a while either. So I've enjoyed doing my makeup and putting on my nice clothes and my jewelry. This top in particular, I have a strapless bra on. I have one of those sticky bras on. I haven't worn one of those since like, I don't know, my third year at uni, which is like 2 years ago. So I feel really good. I'm excited. I'm ready to get back to it, and I hope you guys enjoy this video because we're going to be ranking the season 4 auditions on the next step. So the season 4 auditions to make A Troupe, I really like the structure that they did it in. I do have a few alterations that I personally would have made to the system, but I really like how the overall auditionees were split into 2 groups, the morning and the afternoon group. They did solos as well as a piece of group choreography choreographed by different people. So I'm going to be analysing everybody that took part in the group choreo round and the solo round, and just basically saying who I thought did the best audition, who really gave their all, who had the most energy, confidence, who looked like they really wanted to be on the team, who showed determination that they were driven. And then at the end of the video I will compile my final list of who I think should have made A Troupe based off of everything that I've said. Okay, so we're going to start with the morning group. So this was choreographed by Daniel. He came in as an external choreographer and he led this part of the audition. But one thing I also think Daniel should have done is, after teaching the choreo, he should have said that if they want to adapt moves, and that is going to be super appreciated, because Sloane and LaTroy kind of just said that between themselves, like, we have no other option but to adapt the moves, and hopefully they'll appreciate it. I feel like Daniel could have just assured them and been like, I know not all of you are going to be able to do everything, so give it your best shot and make it your own, and that will be appreciated. And remember, this is just the morning group, so if I don't mention someone, they probably were in the afternoon. So bottom place to the morning group, I have Tyler. Pretty sure that's his name. So Tyler, I feel like he could have just been a bit more fluid with what he did and used his head more. So for example, if your arm is going out this way, just take your head with you and it makes the movement longer. Above Tyler, I then have Jake. I think Jake was just a little bit too placed with the move, so like Tyler, he could have been a bit more fluid with it. Then I have Gabby, and overall I think Gabby was okay, but she could have also used her intention and her head more. Then we have the unnamed dancer in a black leotard. I felt like they blended into the background, but they were good, so they're just pretty average for me. And then if I talk about Nick, I couldn't really see him in the footage that they showed, but what I did see, he did the choreo well.
But I feel like it wasn't the most fluid it could have been, and the choreo didn't fit him as a dancer. Above him is his boyfriend Ben.
I think he was more fluid than Nick was, but also we didn't see much from him. So then above Ben, I have Sloane, and I don't even think Sloane was bad. Like, I know she was very nervous about it because it's contemporary choreo, but I don't think she did it bad at all. I think she hit everything well, and I also like how she adapted movements to suit her, and the movements that are really sharp, I think she was one of the best at hitting them.
She also used her face, but there were moves that she clearly wasn't strong with.
She could have afforded to sink more into things, so I think they do a plie at one point and she doesn't really go down. Oh, and the back bend as well, she doesn't seem the most flexible with doing that. So there definitely were areas where people kind of outdanced her or outdid her in some way. She also looked like she was having fun, and I think that's important, that we kind of see your personality and see you just not as a physical being moving around the space, but actually as a person. So Sloane did good for me. We then have LaTroy. So I think LaTroy was really good at putting his all into it. It was very contemporary choreo. It was Daniel. Like, can you imagine, like, literally, LaTroy and Daniel are completely different dancers, but LaTroy really did his best with it, and he had a lot of energy. I think he put in the most energy compared to those beneath him. Like Sloan, he also hit all of those sharp movements super well, and he adapted nicely. He also changed some movements to suit him well, but he at least attempted it. He didn't just make it hip hop. He still had contemporary, but it was more of a fusion, and I just really liked what LaTroy gave. We then have Cassie. I think Cassie danced confidently, performed well. She had a smile on her face. I just think she did really nicely in this group choreo round.
She also emoted and had fun with the routine, making her more likeable and noticeable in an audition setting, but some moves could have been executed better in my opinion, like going deeper into her plie and staying strong in her turns.
We then have Rochelle, and I think Rochelle hit the moves well. Also, she was very confident. You could tell that it was easy for her. She also gave a smile at one point. I was otherwise going to put her a little bit lower than Cassie because Cassie did smile, but Rochelle kind of still just danced with a straight face. It's a common thing I think I say for every single one of Rochelle's auditions. I just want to see her relax more and just have more fun, because she's making, particularly in this season 4 one, since we're talking about season 4, the moves look easy for her, but she looks bored because of that. If she was actually smiling and having fun and emoting with it, then we're going to get so much more from it than just her in the space moving around.
I then have Riley, and I think that Riley executed the choreo well, put her heart into it, and also had effort. It was good, and I think she stayed strong throughout.
So second place, we then have Amy, and I think Amy is above Rochelle because she performed with her face as well, and she hit all of the movements well, and also she does an extra illusion, which I really appreciated, because it's in perfect timing with the music. You can tell that she has a good grasp of her musicality. And just being able to read music and hear music super well. So I really enjoyed what Amy gave. But top place we have Piper, because I think Piper in particular really suited this choreo. It really played to her strengths. She emoted really, really well and executed everything nicely, and you could also tell that she was having fun. So she didn't look super stressed and like stiff on her face. She was just relaxed. She was performing nicely, but you could also tell she had a performance face on. So she had a nice blend of everything, hit the moves well. She didn't really have to adapt too much because it was her strengths. So yeah. Okay, so then we have the afternoon group, and this was led by Stephanie. And in terms of Stephanie teaching the choreo, I first of all think she was way too fast doing it. I think just because you're an A Troupe and you're coming to teach an audition doesn't mean that you should be like super on them, like, oh, you have to be able to pick this up. I just don't think you're a good teacher if you're just speeding through expecting people to pick stuff up. Like, give everyone a fair chance. Make sure everyone gets to ask any questions that they have and that they're all confident before having to perform. I also think that she should have showed her choreo the same way that Daniel did before starting to teach it. So Daniel performed, then he went through the routine, so they all had an idea of actually what it would look like as an end product, whereas Stephanie just kind of went straight into it and no one really knew what it was going to look like when it was done. I will say though, the exercises that Stephanie did, so the ones where they had to pretend to do different things, I really liked. I like how she did that, especially because Stephanie's always been quite stuck in her ways character that doesn't really like to have fun. She just wants to get the job done. I like how she kind of relaxed a little bit, and that was a really nice method to just be an icebreaker and get everybody comfortable. Yeah, so I'm also going to review how well they did that improv exercise, and it's going to contribute to their overall placements in this group choreo round. So at the bottom, if we compare both the improv round and the choreo that Stephanie set, we have the person in the white t-shirt. Don't know their name, I'm afraid. At the improv, I didn't think they were that good at it, but they still did it. They didn't just refuse point blank. And the choreo was done well, but there was nothing that stood out to me. So they were just kind of there as an extra. They did their job, I suppose. We then have the person in the purple tank top.
Their improv was more characterised than the white t-shirt dancer, but it still wasn't anything outstanding.
And they didn't stand out for anything during the choreo round. I think that they could have afforded to have more energy, but they're above the person in the white t-shirt because I think they performed well on their face. We then have Becca, so little Becca from A Troupe. I think she was good at her improv. She wasn't the best at it, but she seemed to have something more than the other two people. She didn't really dance the most confident in the choreo round. You could tell she was kind of also just an extra, and it wasn't written in that she was going to make it. So she was kind of just there to fill the space and be another dancer. She also seemed a little bit unsure on sections, so she didn't do too well. We then have a dancer in red, and they don't actually do a solo later on, so this is the only time we see them, and they're pretty good, but I didn't really pay attention to them or notice them. And they also did the choreo well, and I think that they seem more comfortable with it than everyone beneath them. We then have a blue t-shirt dancer, and I believe this might be Alexandra, because I think she's in season 5, but I'm not sure, so don't count me on that. I'll probably have to double check and then I'll write it on screen or something. So if it is Alexandra, if it's not, I think they were good at the improv section, but they weren't too big with it. They didn't really stand out. I think they were better than those beneath them though. And in terms of the choreo itself, they executed it really well. They had lots of energy, and it was also performed really well on their face, so they're above everyone else. One above the blue t-shirt dancer, we then have Noah, which surprised me. I thought Noah would be a bit higher than this, but he was quite good at the improv section. But the choreo itself, I felt like he could have gone harder, and he was just being kind of comfortable, and he wasn't actually trying very hard. Noah didn't scream audition-y for me. It just kind of seemed like he was there knowing he'd get in. I do think he executed it really well. I just kind of expected more, and I wanted him to stand out. We then have Skylar, who I also think did the improv round really well. And also in the choreo round, she performed well and put her own little touches in on it, which I liked. And she also performed with her face. We then have the unnamed green t-shirt dancer, who I think was actually really good at the improvisation, and they executed the choreo round really well. They had loads of energy too, but there was no facials there, so they can't go any higher. I just do think they were really, really good actually, so it's a shame that they were just an extra. We then have Henry, who I think was very good at the improv round. I like when he does the backward roll in particular, so he fused in a few of his dance moves with the actual movements. It shows that he's creative, he's versatile, you know, he's just a person as well as a dancer. That's what I've kind of said a few times, but he just gave a little bit of his personality. I can't speak today, I'm mumbling over. This is because I haven't spoken to a camera in a month. In terms of the dance itself, I think he did well and he performed on his face, but he did miss a few moves, like he didn't seem completely comfortable with it. But to be honest, it's not his style, so I kind of appreciate more that he at least tried and didn't just immediately swap them out. He showed that he was willing to give them a go, if anything. But I think in an audition scenario, you kind of want to play your best foot, so you might want to attempt a couple of things, but then change some to show where your strengths lie. So he's not any higher than he is.
We then have Sierra.
So I think Sierra was the best in her mini group at the improvisation round. I think particularly when she was going down a drain pipe or something, she was really, really good at actually showing her ability to turn and just kind of get in with the movement. I wish she had tied her hair up though, honestly, because she had her hair so flat and just loose and it's so long, it was just going with every single movement she made. It would like fan out and everything. I really wish she had just tied it up to dance with, even in just a ponytail or something. But if we focus on the dancing,
compared to those beneath her, I think Sierra danced with more passion and fluidity for the parts that she did do prior to messing up, and she also had great expressions, performed the choreo well, showed enjoyment, and she didn't mess up until pretty much the end of it, so everything she did beforehand still stands, and I think it still puts her higher than everyone else.
I think she did hit all of the moves that she did well, but when she messed up, she let it show, and I'm pretty sure she just walked off then. So yeah, she didn't do great, but she's above those beneath her because she did perform better in terms of her performance quality, and the improv round she did really well in. We then have Michelle, who was also very good at the improvisation, and you could tell that there was a want within her. You could tell Michelle really wanted to she wanted to make A Troupe that year. She executed the choreo really well, but I do think she could have afforded to just have a bit more performance quality. Like, I know what Michelle is capable of, like if we think of Showstopper, for example. It was just a little bit blank face for me, but everything was there with her movements, which is why she's second. So first place, that means that Alfie was the best out of the afternoon group for me, because he didn't hesitate in the improv round. He went straight to it. He wasn't afraid to show himself amongst all these brand new people that have never seen him before. I think he was the most charismatic and the most like in character throughout the improv round. He really just went for it. And then in the choreo round, he was super, super sharp, and he was what I wanted Noah to kind of perform like. So he had tons of energy. He hit all the moves. He had great facials as well. He had fun. I'm sure he smiled a few times as well. I think Alfie was the best out of the afternoon. Like, he was the one that stood out for me. So then we move on to the solos that they did. So I used, like I said, the extended version and the TV version for this. So I'm going to go from bottom to top. I'm not going to split these into morning and afternoon either. It's just literally going to be bottom to top. And then once we've analysed the solos, I will reveal who I think should have made it onto A Troupe in season 4. So at the bottom of my list for the solos, I have put the unknown dancer in the black high neck leotard, because I just don't think it was anything special really, and it was just movements. I didn't feel anything. I didn't really feel any charisma from them. We then have Sierra, because I do think she had charisma, which is what the other dancer was lacking, and she is a great performer, but she let it show when she slipped up, and she just, like, I don't know, she stumbled and then didn't do anything else after that point.
But she did try and pick it back up, which I commend her for.
So she just let it get to her too much. It was kind of like Stephanie in season 2, where you could just tell her heart wasn't in it and she knew it was over. Look at this sunlight. Ooh, yes. We then have the unknown dancer in the white t-shirt. I think they had great musicality in their solo, but it was too much in one spot. I kind of wanted them to use the space a little bit more. I know it's hard depending on what style you actually do, because I'm not expecting everyone to do like a running leap or anything, but I just kind of wanted them to interact with the audience a bit more and just be out of their kinesphere. We then have Becca, who I loved overall seeing in season 4 along with Gabby, and I really wanted her to make the team with her sister and Rochelle and Noah, so it was like the next generation, because they were all in J Troupe together, and now they'd all get to be on A Troupe. But ultimately I don't think Gabby and Becca performed well enough to make it onto the A Troupe in season 4. In terms of her solo, she adjusted her top mid-move, which I don't like. Like, if you're performing, you can't be adjusting your costume on stage or anything. You've got to be in the zone. So that was one thing that I picked up on personally. I think she showed a good range, and she did use the space well, which is why she's above those beneath her. But she just looked like she was nervous, and at the end it was kind of like she just wanted it to be over, so she kind of skipped out of the circle. So I don't know, I just feel like she was there to fill the space as an extra, and it was kind of written in that she wasn't going to make it, so just have fun. We then have Gabby, and I think that she did start really strong, and she did seem more confident than her sister Becca. I think she had great movement quality as well, but she repeated the same kind of filler movements too much, and she just didn't have too much of a presence in the audition room. I would have just liked to see something new and just something a little bit more from her. We then have Cassie, who I think could have transitioned a little bit smoother off of the floor. It kind of looked a little bit fragmented for me, and it was just a pretty average solo, so I think she performed better in the group section personally.
But she had more confidence than Becca and Gabby.
I then have the unknown dancer in the green top. So they were very fluid, and I think they're very similar to Ben in how they dance. Like, they're both super expressionate, and they do really high leaps, and they really use their arms to fill the space. They were very well structured as well, but I think they were just a little bit too floaty for me, and I don't think they would fit on A Troupe very well. I kind of wanted to see just more structured movements and actually what you can do. I don't know, I think that is just my personal taste, and just in terms of an audition, you kind of want to fit in with what you know they're looking for, rather than being completely your own dancer. You want to look adaptable, and like they could say, oh, well, we could use them actually for this round. If you're just looking like you're too individual, you're not going to fit onto a competitive team. You're just going to stand out as a solo dancer, so I don't think that played in their favour really. But they were good, I just don't think they gave the right kind of performance for an audition to make it onto a team. But then we have Ben above them, who was super fluid, like I mentioned for the other dancer in the green top. He has very expressionate movement, and I do like it. He also reminds me of Daniel, but he was very much moved from the right to the left and just going across the space. I wanted to see him use it more as a circle, more rather than just traveling in front of me like this, because I don't know, it makes it very linear. Is that the right word? It doesn't really give it much depth. It's just like you're passing in front of me. I just would have liked to see a bit more substance and charisma within him. Then we have the unknown dancer in purple. So they were very confident, and they showed their flexibility.
But for me, it seemed rushed and like they heard the song ending, so they had to just get back in line.
So I felt like they held themselves back, and I was intrigued by them, to be honest. I wanted to see what they could do. So then we have Jake, who I think started with a bang, but he fell out of one of his turns I picked up on, and I think he could have landed his back handsprings a little bit cleaner, but he was super charismatic and expressionate, and he had a lot of power. He looked like a team player also. There was just moments where I thought it could have been a lot better. I then have Nick, who I think was very charismatic, and I love the fact that he took the big risk in lifting Kate above his head. He spins her around so fast, and I think it's so iconic. Like, that is what I always think, like when someone reminds me of Nick, I always think of that moment. I think it's great to take a risk in an audition like that, because you're going to be memorable. When they go away to discuss and they have everyone's names written down, they're going to go, yes, that was Nick, the one that lifted Kate above his head. Like, you have to do stuff to keep them in your mind, because if they can't really remember what you did, they're not going to be like, oh yeah, let's put them on a team. They're going to be like, they didn't stand out, so we're going to get rid of them. So I think it was a really good move. I do think though that he only really showed his strength, and he didn't really show me much of a range in what movement he could do, because the lift took up a lot of the audition. He pretty much, other than that, just did some handsprings, I think, and some flips. So it was kind of a good job that they had the group choreo round also, where he had the opportunity to do some set choreography, because I don't feel like he showed enough before doing the lift.
I have then put Tyler, and Tyler had a very Noah-esque audition. I think that he had a lot of energy and his technical ability was nice, but he wasn't the most charismatic, and ultimately it was just tumbling in turns, which doesn't do much for his versatility, and it lacks something special. I have then put Piper.
I think that Piper was very consistent with what she did. She hit every move with 100%, and you could just tell, like, on her face, she performs very nicely, and her personality was kind of coming through as well. But I also would have liked it if she'd hit a hip-hop move at the end, because there was one beat at the end, so I think that kind of would have hinted, oh, maybe Piper is capable of doing harder hitting stuff as well as just this fluid lyrical. So there was a chance that she could have shown more, but she didn't.
I think she was overall repetitive, and the solo, as you can see, was pretty much just loads of different types of turns and leaps. There wasn't really much else to it.
We then have Riley. Riley had great energy and confidence. Like, she bursted out from the side of the room, and it was a freestyle solo. Like, they are meant to just have fun with it and do whatever, but it just felt like Riley was performing and not auditioning. Overall, for Riley in this season 4 audition, it felt like she was already in, and she knew she was already in, so she didn't really have to try. I just wanted to see her really go for it, kind of the same way that Michelle does. Michelle doesn't really let herself get comfortable because of the year that she had in season 3. I just wanted to see Riley push herself more and surprise us more.
I've already proven myself here on A Troupe, and doing my freestyle is just so much fun because I know that I belong here.
But I do think she had better energy and confidence than everyone beneath her, and she seemed more like she'd fit into A Troupe. She was adaptable. She showed a bit more versatility. She used the space well and things like that. We then have the unknown blonde dancer that I think is Alexandra, but I'm not sure. So she had, if it is Alexandra, then she had great energy and movement quality, and I love the turn that they do into the split. I think that's great. Overall, I think this dancer is super, super strong, honestly, and they had great legs and flexibility, so overall it was a good audition. We then have LaTroy, who had great energy and movement quality. He also had great musicality and charisma, but it did seem like he was filling time towards the end of when he just needed to go back into the circle, because he was kind of already moved back and he was still having to go on before the next person could come out. So it seemed a little bit awkward, but I liked what he did.
I have then put Sloane, and I love the TV version of how Sloane enters the circle because of her energy.
So with Sloane, I also would have loved her to use the space a little bit more. Her movements were super sharp though. Is this where she does that movement? Because I like when she does that. I'm not sure if that is the stance. Her energy is also very good. We then have Skylar, who I think used her whole body in the audition, which is really good. And she also had great transitions.
The TV version of Skylar's audition was a lot better in my opinion, as it had her power moves in it. Like, the girl did 3 aerials in a row. She definitely gave it her all and showed personality.
We have Amy, who I think used the space very well. She had different levels as well in her audition. So she did some stuff standing, she did some stuff on the floor. She showed a great range, and I think that's what you have to do in an audition, because they don't know who you are. If you don't show them all the stuff you can do, they're not going to just guess and mind read. So I think she did a great job at showing her total capacity and what she can do. But I will say, I think she was upside down and moving around and turning too much for the audience to actually connect with her. So if she had a couple moments of stillness where we could actually see her smiling before she went upside down again, we would have just remembered her more and connected and been more invested in her emotionally. Because it just kind of seemed like she's a bounce and bundle of energy bouncing around the place and being upside down. So she did a lot, but maybe a bit too much. I just kind of wanted to see her for who she is and not just all tricks.
I then have
Henry, who was sharp, confident. I loved his freeze in particular. I think Henry's freeze locks in my mind. Like, I can picture it right now. So doing things like that in an audition is going to play in your favour and people are going to remember you. So it was a good move on his behalf. It gave him something special and made him memorable. We then have Rochelle, who I think was super fluid and strong with her solo audition, and she showed that she wasn't just flips and tricks. She showed her flexibility and her transition movement and her strength also when she holds the back bend. Rochelle is very blank on her face. I want her to look out and emote and lock eyes with people a lot more and just use the space rather than just dancing within herself and moving around. It's kind of like if I put her in a bubble, she'd stay in that bubble as she moves around the space. People like Piper, I feel like, would kick out of the bubble and it would pop, and then she'd continue to move through the space. I feel like Rochelle stays very much within it because she doesn't really look around. She doesn't lock eyes with anyone. She doesn't emote with them. She doesn't tell anyone, look, I'm coming for you. That's what I want to see from her, especially because of her personality. I just think she could give a lot more. So if there is a season 8, hashtag season 8 when though, and they audition in some capacity, I really want to see Rochelle go for it. She did do movements that no one else can though, which is why she's so high, because I think when they're recruiting the age group, they would say, hey, we could use somebody like Rochelle on the team. 4th place we have Noah, so just above Rochelle. Noah knew what he could do and he showed it very confidently. I liked Noah's audition, honestly, because it did seem a little bit like he was already known there, so a little bit complacent, I guess. But I think he did it in a way that was like, yeah, you've seen me, you know who I am, but I'm going to prove to you why I should keep my place on the team. It wasn't just, oh, you've already seen me, so I'm not going to try. He also performed for everyone and made everyone remember him, not just the people that were going to ultimately be judging him. So he involved, I think it was Nick, in his solo routine and made him bounce him up for the flip. I'm not sure what that is called, sorry. And he did everything with no hesitation. He had confidence with everything. And also I love how he high-fived Michelle as she came into the circle. I just think things like that, just showing your awareness that everyone is there for the same reason as you, and just having them kind of, because I think if everyone was asked who do you think should have made the team, everyone would have said, oh yeah, Noah was also really good because he connected with them. People like Rochelle, who didn't really connect with anybody, they'd kind of be like, she's my competition, I don't really want her to get in. Whereas they connected with Noah and they'd be like, yes, I want you to have that spot. So I think Noah kind of worked the system very well.
I also liked how Noah covered his eyes in the turn sequence as a nod to internationals and to just show his personality and that he had something special.
Like I just said though, I mentioned Michelle. Michelle is one above Noah. Like I said, I love how she taps in with him. I think it's just such a small, nice moment, but also because she has a straight face, like she knows it's her time. She's going to take it from Noah now and go with a bang into it. Yes, her energy is great. So are her transitions. I think she gives everything to the routine. She also showed a great range in the movement, and I think she could have afforded, if anything, to be a bit more charismatic with it. I think that's what Noah did well, but what Michelle had on Noah was that she wasn't comfortable at all. So I think overall Michelle was one better than Noah.
I love the musicality on this bit. Her energy makes her deserve this position in the rankings.
So in first place, again, because I'm pretty sure he's first place in the group choreo as well in the improv, we have Alfie. I think Alfie was very strong in his audition and very confident in his own ability. He used the space very well, and also he knew where his audience were. So he, like with Noah, he watched them and he used the space. He traveled amongst them. They got out of his way. I think he was very charismatic and likable also, and he showed his technical ability in jazz and in contemporary as well, I guess, because I think he turned. So Alfie was just really good. He showed that he was a person as well as just a dancer, and he put his best foot forward. He was memorable. So if I go through who I think would be on my final A Troupe for season 4, from 12th place to first place, because there'd be 12 overall members, I'm not sure who the alternate would be. Honestly, I haven't thought about that. So maybe you can leave down below who you think the alternate should be out of this A Troupe I'm going to give you. And this ranking is purely based off of their performance overall, so how they did in their improv round, how they did in the choreo round, how they did in their solos. It's very objective. It's not just who I want on the team.
Okay, so first off we had Daniel's choreography round, and my rankings from top to bottom were Piper, Amy, Riley, Rochelle, Cassie, LaTroy, Sloane, Ben, Nick, the person in the black leotard, Gabby, Jake and Tyler. Then for Stephanie's improv and choreo round from top to bottom, I had Alfie, Michelle, Sierra, Henry, the green t-shirt dancer, Skylar, Noah, blue tank top dancer, red t-shirt dancer, Becca, purple tank top dancer and white t-shirt dancer. Then for the solos, we had Alfie, Michelle, Noah, Rochelle, Henry, Amy, Skylar, Sloane, LaTroy, blue tank top dancer, Riley, Piper, Tyler, Nick, purple tank top dancer, Ben, green t-shirt dancer, Cassie, Gabby, Becca, white t-shirt dancer, Sierra and bottom place black leotard dancer. Making our final season 4 A Troupe, in my opinion, Alfie, Michelle, Rochelle, Amy, Henry, Skylar, Noah, Piper, Riley, Sloane, LaTroy and Cassie.
So let me know what you think of my A Troupe for season 4. Comment down below like I said, and make sure you subscribe, because I'm hoping that I will now be uploading weekly once again. Feeling a lot better in myself. But this is your reminder, if you're not feeling good, take the time out that you need if you can. And remember that time to chill and time for yourself is not time wasted. I'm still trying to tell myself that all the time. Yeah, like self-care is necessary. It's not just a waste of time. Working all the time is not a good use of your time. You have to spend time on yourself as well. So yeah, I'll see you soon, guys. Thank you so much for watching.